Warning, the following program contains scenes of death.
My name is Mary Lyons. I'm the banking center manager. We have a lady who is in our bank right now who says that her husband and children are being held at their house. The people are in a car outside the bank. She is getting $15,000 to bring out to them, that if the police are told, they will kill the children and the husband.
The guy in the driver's seat, who looks like Uncle Fester, is Steve Hayes, ex-con, druggie, a real loser. The blonde in the passenger seat is Jennifer Hawk Petit, married to a doctor, attends church regularly, a pillar of the community. And you wouldn't be wrong by saying that they made unlikely travel companions. But stick around, and I'll tell you the whole filthy story. Sunday was like any other day for the Petit family. Got up, had a light breakfast, then attended church. And on this day, Mikola, the youngest daughter, had planned to cook a meal for her family. So while the father and their oldest went home, Jennifer Petit, the mother, took her youngest daughter out to buy some ingredients for the evening meal. But little did the two know that it would be the last meal that they would ever have, because unbeknownst to the mother and daughter, they had caught the attention of one Joshua Komisarjevsky, ex-con, druggie, pedophile, a career criminal arrested for over 18 home invasions, and now the shy 11-year-old who enjoyed watching cooking shows. Her death clock was now ticking. Because little did Jennifer Petit and her youngest daughter know that they were now being followed back to their family home. Close-knit, leafy, upscale community whose residents include business owners, politicians, and actors who would often volunteer in their community as penitents for their privileged lifestyles. But nothing in this life comes for free. Nothing. And the Petit family, with all that privilege, were about to discover that cost. Because that evening, the two men who had just recently got out on parole would put together a plan to obtain what they figured they deserved, a piece of the cherry pie. After spending an evening in a watering hole, drinking fruity cocktails, witnesses say the two ex-convicts left the bar just after 1 a.m., and it was slightly before 3 a.m. that they turned off their engine and their lights and rolled up to the Petit home. Walking up the front lawn, they entered through an unlocked door, where they found Bill Petit, who'd fallen asleep on the couch watching TV. Then Komisarjevsky, with a baseball bat, excavated the good doctor's brains. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. Holding a gun to his head, they asked if he had a safe.
Where's the fucking safe?
When he said no, they dragged him downstairs, tying him to a pole and binding his ankles. From there, the men climbed the stairs to the second floor and entered each of the girls' rooms as they slept, covering their mouths, waking them, and then tying them to their bed. And although the two children and the mother were terrified, both men promised them that they wouldn't be hurt as long as they cooperated.
And the first Cheshire police officer to arrive at the scene heard at least one of the girls screaming from inside the house.
Those animals, what they did to those poor people in Cheshire, I can't even believe that they're going to give them a trial. What kind of laws do we have in this state where they don't just execute those animals?
With the mother and her 2 daughters tied to their beds, the men started ransacking the home.
The first officer observed 2 male subjects exit private residence and also observed the private residence fully engulfed in flame.
While tearing the house apart, the 2 found alcohol and further indulged.
Apparently, these 2 losers followed Jennifer Hawk Petit and her 11-year-old daughter to the Stop and Shop on Sunday night. They followed them.
While drunkenly continuing through the house, they grabbed the kids' piggy banks, jars of quarters, jewelry, watches, anything they could pawn. Then they stumbled across a bank book to a savings account that said it had $15,000 in it. It was then they came up with the idea to make Mrs. Petit go to the bank first thing in the morning and withdraw that money. And if she did it and didn't raise a stink and return with the money, they'd let everybody go. Easy peasy, Japanese. On the ride to the bank, Steve Hayes could see that Mrs. Petit was terrified. So he tried to calm her, telling her he also had a daughter and he wouldn't hurt any kids, and that all they wanted was the money. So all she had to do was go into the bank and get it without raising a stink. While Hayes waited in the car, wearing a baseball cap and a hoodie, Jennifer entered the bank. Attempting to make a withdrawal, the bank teller told her it was an old account and there was no money in it. Now distraught, Jen told the teller she needed $15,000, and if she didn't have it, men were going to kill her husband and 2 daughters. So they handed over the money, but little did Mrs. Petit know she had less than 30 minutes to live, and the police were now in transit to her home. On the duo's return to the Petit residence, Hayes can be seen stopping off at a gas station and filling up 2 canisters of gas, while Jennifer Petit sits in the passenger seat. And while she figured that she just saved her family, little does she know that Komisarjevsky is upstairs in her 11-year-old daughter's bed, sodomizing her. Hearing his young daughter's cries, Bill Petit screamed out, "Don't hurt my daughter," was able to break free. Escaping through a basement exit with the pole still attached, bound at the ankles, he dragged himself across the lawn to a neighbor's house.
Are you police? Yes. I got Bill Petit here who's hurt, my neighbor. All right, get in out. You two get in the house. Get in the house. I need a one-on-one here now.
This mitigates what happens. It means he didn't really know what was going on, couldn't make a decision to stop what was going on that night in July of 2007, and so his life should be spared. No verdict today. We do expect a verdict by the end of the week.
At the moment that Bill Petit is pulling himself across the lawn, Steve and Jen have returned home. As Hayes pulls in the driveway, he sees what he believes to be police hiding in the bushes. He's now aware that the police have arrived, and he knows that Jennifer Petit has betrayed his trust. And I guess it's safe to say that at this point, the deal the 2 had struck is now off. As the duo entered the home, they were met by Komisarjevsky coming down the stairs, doing his zipper up with a shit-eating grin on his face. He told Steve to tie the bitch up. They had to finish the job. It was then that Hayes told him that they'd been spotted and that the cops were outside. Now furious, Komisarjevsky ran downstairs to get Bill Petit, but realized that he'd escaped. Running upstairs, he told Hayes, "We need to finish this." and he showed him pictures on his phone of him fucking the youngest daughter. Then he told him to do the same to Jennifer Petit to even the score. So he ripped off her pants and started fucking her there and then right on the coffee table as he strangled her and squeezed the life out of her. And the autopsy report stated she was dead before he blew his load. He then started pouring gasoline over the woman who'd only recently been diagnosed with MS and was now naked from the waist down. Komisarjevsky ran upstairs and started throwing gasoline on the 11-year-old, and then went into Haley's room and did the same, soaking them. Michaela, laying there half naked, knowing that her death clock was now running out, started screaming, and then her sister started joining in. According to Hayes, it was Komisarjevsky who struck the first match, setting the girls ablaze on their childhood beds. Running down the stairs, he dropped the match on Jennifer's lifeless body. And by all accounts, the old wooden home and all that was in it went up like kindling wood in a pipe stove. It's never been clear which man lit the match, or in fact whose idea it was, because both men have consistently blamed each other and said that they were the ones who tried to stop the crime. Although Steve Hayes was seen behind the gasoline, there was Komisarjevsky, who had pictures on his phone of him raping and sodomizing the 11-year-old girl. But I guess in the end, it all turned out the same, and the scumbags made a run for it with their piggy banks and their $15,000. But in the end, the two hapless losers were to discover there was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide.
Upon arrival at the victim's residence, the first officer observed two male subjects exit private residence and also observed the private residence fully engulfed in flame. The suspect vehicle rammed the Cheshire police officer's car and continued on.
It seems that the police weren't completely honest in that press conference, and that they'd arrived earlier than Steve Hayes and Mrs. Petit, and were already waiting in the bushes staking the place out, and they watched them go into the house. And even after they heard the screams and saw the flames, they did nothing. Some say it was hostage protocol, while others say it was a small-town police force only used to dealing with shoplifters, and they were scared shitless.
Is it on?
But it seems the Biggie Squad weren't the only ones not being truthful, because both Hayes and Komisarjevsky turned on each other, blaming the other for the murders, each claiming that they'd tried to stop it. And although there's evidence of Hayes buying gasoline, there's pictures on Komisarjevsky's phone of him getting the young girl to suck him off. So I guess the truth got burned with everything else. For the trial, many were hoping for the death penalty, but with Connecticut being one of the pussy states, it seemed highly unlikely. It was during that trial that both convicts had a sad tale to tell about how they were raped and ass-fucked as kids and didn't get enough love. Hayes even went on to become transgender and got the taxpayers to flip the bill. Hey Steve, guess what? It ain't working. Take some more pills. But unlike Hayes, Connecticut turned out to have some balls, and they gave the two killers a death sentence, but it was later retracted because of legislation changes.
I'd really like to say thank you to people from all over the state of Connecticut and all over the country. We've been surrounded with love and cards and flowers and prayer.
Turned out that 17-year-old Haley, who had been known for being such a great athlete, had broken out of her bindings and escaped. She made it to the bottom of the stairs before the smoke and the flames got the better of her. An 11-year-old Michaela? Nah, she got all burnt up in the bed that she was raised in.
Legion forever!